Welcome to the Online Ministry Made Simple podcast. My name is Mike, and I'm a pastor, and I love working with churches. And my goal is to help simplify some of the complexity of online ministry. It's a struggle for many churches, and we're in this new world of trying to figure everything out. And so my goal is to help you and walk alongside you and give you the information you need. So this podcast is short lessons that help you along the way. So today we're going to be talking about dealing with the unexpected. And technology, if you're like most people, you have a love-hate relationship with it. You love it when it works well, but often it doesn't really work like it's supposed to. And so we want to talk about the unexpected today. Now, one of the problems that I've seen with a lot of churches is I come from an engineering background. I was a mechanical engineer for almost 12 years. And so from in that environment, we constantly battled against what we called tribal knowledge. And what I mean by that is that's kind of a business term, an engineering term, but often you have people who know information, but it's not really written down anywhere. No one else knows it, or maybe just a handful of people know it. And so you have trouble because you have trouble with your processes, with people not knowing what to do. And so you see this play out in churches all the time. One person may have all the knowledge about the live stream setup, and if they're out, no one else knows how to get it going. Or if you run into a problem, people don't know how to fix it, and someone else says, well, I've ran into that before. I know how to fix that. Here's all you had to do. But it was not written down. It was not shared. It was that tribal knowledge. And so one of the things we're going to be talking about today is really documenting everything and going over some different scenarios that will happen eventually if they've not happened already, just so you know you have a backup plan. The first scenario I want to talk about today is what happens if your computer dies. Now, this could happen during the week. It could happen on a Sunday morning. Do you have a backup plan if your main streaming computer goes down? Now, this could happen because a hard drive failure. Could happen because an update happened that that put your computer in a reboot loop, or it just freezes upon lockup. I've come in on a Sunday morning before and the computer won't boot up, and I've had to roll it back to a previous version. And so we just actually, another computer, one of our check-in kind of kiosk computers at church, the hard drive went out on it just 2 weeks ago. So this happens. What will you do in a situation like that? And so I think it's important just to have a plan. Do you have a laptop that has the presentation software already installed on it? Do you save your presentation for each week in Dropbox, for instance, so you can actually go and pull it up on another computer? There's numerous ways. Can you quickly create a PowerPoint just to get you through that Sunday morning if that's all you have? I think it's just important to think through what would you do in that situation. And if it's a computer you also use, and I've talked about worship presentation software, but if it's your streaming computer, what do you do when you don't have your OBS or vMix or Ecamm, whatever program you're using? What do you do if you don't have access to it? Do you still have a way you can record? You can record the audio maybe on your soundboard. Can you record the video in your camera? And then even if you cannot stream that Sunday morning, can you go back and have a video that you can post Sunday afternoon? And so those are contingency plans. So what do you do? It's hard to think clearly in the middle of Sunday morning with everything going on. But if you in advance come up with a plan saying, this is what we're going to do. We're going to post on social media. Hey, we're having technical problems today. The video will be up by 3 o'clock today. Hey, people will understand. And so just having those contingency plans in place, having a backup plan in place is really important. And if you have an extra laptop that you can put into service, then hey, maybe you can just swap things out and keep things going. So that's the first scenario. The second scenario is similar and probably much more likely. What happens if your internet is down? Most of the churches listening to this podcast aren't of the size to have redundant internet systems. Some of your larger churches may have multiple internet providers and even bond them together to get an increased speed. But if you're listening to this, I have a feeling that you're probably not one of those churches. And so if your internet goes down, there's not a lot you can do. But I'll give you a tip here that maybe will prevent that. And the first, and if you've ever worked in IT, you know this is really important. You reboot. You reboot a lot. And so on every Sunday morning, we come in, we reboot everything. We reboot our router, reboot our internet modem, reboot our main computer, our streaming computer, reboot all the different devices we've used with it. And so we're starting with a clean slate. Now that will fix a lot of your problems, because often you won't realize your internet modem may have been running for a month without being rebooted. And just naturally it's going to run into problems. So rebooting will hopefully fix many of your problems before they even start. But if your internet goes down, I think the key is you have a way to continue recording and then post later. Now, sometimes you may have a volunteer that has really good cell service, a good unlimited cell plan that you can hotspot a phone and stream that way. And so those are things that you could try out during the week and just experiment and see if they work. So, but at the bare minimum, you want to get a good recording that you can then edit, post later. So that's another scenario. Scenario number 3: what happens if your live stream gets taken down in the middle of your service? Do you have people watching, commenting? If you use Facebook or YouTube, and I've talked about this in the last podcast episode, sometimes your stream will get taken down even if you've done nothing wrong. And so how do you respond? Again, this is what drives many people to use a paid streaming solution. And so if you use a paid streaming solution, then you're much less likely to have your stream taken down. So that's one option. But if it happens, do you know how to start a new stream? Do you know how to comment and get people, pointed back to the stream? Do you? There's just different things that you kind of need to kind of work through in advance, and depending on your setup, depending on what you use, do you have a plan in place? And if you do, document it, write it down, checklist it out, and set it down, and make sure your key volunteers and operators have that information with you. And then finally, the fourth and final scenario is what happens when your key volunteers call in sick. I think this is really a discipleship question. Does every one of your volunteers, your key volunteers, your key leaders, are they training people to be able to do what they're doing? And I think sometimes we get a little territorial in our churches without realizing it. We don't want in order to feel needed, we want to have the knowledge that no one else has. And unfortunately, I see that far too often. But if we're constantly training other people, discipling others to do what we're doing, then if someone calls in sick, you've got a backup. Now, it may mean in a smaller church, often like one of our other tech guys are maybe playing in the praise team, and there's times we've had to pull them off of the praise team, and the praise team has to make do with fewer team members that Sunday so we can have somebody running technology. There's trade-offs, right? But what is your plan if someone calls in sick, if someone can't be there, who is going to take their place? And so I think just thinking through that in advance, and making sure you have a good leadership pipeline in every ministry, and who are you training, and who are you discipling, who are you helping do what you do? I think that's a question we need to be asking across all of our ministries, not just in technology. And so I think there's two key takeaways that I just want to share and close with today. One is, are you documenting everything? Checklists are a good way to do that. You can do online Google Docs that you can share, that people can put in different scenarios. I ran into this problem this week. So we had a weird problem this past Sunday that I've not had before. And so I had a problem with a camera gimbal that we've not run into. And I'm going to tell the other guys about that, document that so that we have now. It took me a while to figure out how to fix it. And maybe that's a unique situation that I'm a pastor and I'm back there before the service trying to figure out some stuff. But we ran into really a tough one last week. So I'm going to document that, and hopefully then our volunteers in the future can figure that out when we run into that same problem, which we probably will. We've had problems with our audio interface and different things that just are weird, and you're going to run into those. But document them so that when you run into them again, you know what to do. So document everything. And then second is that discipleship is so important. Who are you teaching? Who are you training? Who are you helping to make sure that they know how to do the work that you're doing and how to continue it on? And so I hope this again has been helpful. Be sure and visit our website at onlineministrymadesimple.com for all sorts of blog posts, podcast episodes, online courses about how to post on Facebook and developing your social media plan and how to use Facebook groups effectively. I really hope that these will help you as you continue to expand your reach and your influence online, and as you make disciples for and teach them how to obey what Christ has commanded us. So thanks for joining in today, and God bless.